I'm Chris, ex-member of the Hells Angels, and I am chatting with Staxx.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Chris.
You know what I mean? Because he didn't really like to travel a lot, I like to travel. I like to get out and go. And so it was odd to me that he was there and that he didn't come with me. Granted, I'm in it. When you're in it, sometimes it's hard to see. So we're leaving. I didn't even know the money was in the car. We're driving down the road and they must have been counting it upstairs. He was there. Next thing you know, we're on our way out of Cleveland, and I'm with two members from Minnesota. One of them is no longer with them, and the other one, I don't think he's in the club, but I don't know where he's at, right? Both really good dudes. The one that passed away, he was a really good dude from Minnesota, man. Really good dude. And anyways, they're like, "You got anything? Seatbelts on." Next thing you know, the feds and the locals are running us down in the ditch at gunpoint, and they're pointing the guns at me at the back of the thing. They're like, "Get out of the car!" They're fucking screaming at me. It's raining. They got me on the side of the road in Cleveland with my guns down, calling me a fugitive from justice. And they put me in the cop car, and the feds are yelling at me. I'm like, "Hey man, can I use my phone? Can I call my?" They're like, "Oh, you can." I get into the cop car with the Cleveland cops. I'm like, "Hey man, can I use my phone?" They're like, "We don't give a fuck what you do. Just don't talk to us." I said, "All right, okay." So we're rolling into the Cleveland jail, and they're like, "You got anything on you?" I said, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Got any money? Got any guns? What do you got?" I said, "I got these two Percocets in my pocket because I'd been stabbed and I had a broken leg, and I was just healing it." And they're like, "Well, take them because we don't do paperwork here in Cleveland." And I was like, "What, man? Oh man! Out of all the days, man, why didn't I have like 40 keys or something like that? You know what I mean? It was
I
a
don't
get
think
out of
they'd let
jail."
you get away with that one.
Hell yeah, they would. They were just trying to get rich, man. These two dudes are like, "We do not do paperwork. Whatever you got, you just give it to us." And I was like, "Oh, that's crazy." But anyhow, when I was in the Cleveland jail, I was there for 10 days. I did not brush my teeth. I did not take a shower. I did not change my clothes. I had my Hells Angels patch on for the whole entire 10 days I was in there. The only thing they took was my bootlaces. I had my Hells Angels belt with my Death Head belt buckle, sitting in a cell, pitch black, staring at the wall. You know what I mean? Because I didn't have anything to read, no TV. It was crazy.
That's
The
rough.
the most excitement I got is this dude across the hall. He was already in a paper suit. He says, "I'm gonna be a Cleveland cop." And I tell you what, the frog suit people came in there and they beat the brakes off of him. And then they put him in a Hannibal Lecter chair for a couple days, and he was in the cell across the way, so I got to watch him piss on himself, right? But bro, man, he had it coming. They warned him. They told him. Um, and so I got bailed out of there. My mom put 10K up for me to a bail bondsman. And the one thing that doesn't sit well about that is from the dude on the phone on the wall of the one phone call when I got after like 10 days, I could have got 7% to a bail bondsman for that $100,000 bail. But somehow Cleveland worked out a sweetheart deal with me, so I only had to pay 10%. I paid 3 grand more to our own guys. And I had to come up and I came up with that scratch myself. But during that arrest, there was 60K in the trunk of the car. One of the members from Cleveland came to visit me, and I don't think he's a member of the club anymore. He's like, "Yeah, you're not gonna tell, do this." I said, "Dude, I ain't saying nothing, man." Telling me about this money and stuff. And I said, when Sonoma had that fire out there, I gave them two poker machines for their clubhouse to help them raise money. I'm a team player. Don't ever fucking think that I'm not a team player. Anyhow, they got that money back. I know there was a stir in the club because they thought it was my fault, man. That was club business. I had nothing to do with that motherfucker wearing a wire on me. You know, I was only a member for probably not even a year at this time when all this happened. The good thing is I didn't have to go on diesel therapy like the feds wanted me to. And when I got back to Wisconsin, they're like, how the fuck did he get back? You know, because they were trying to press Cleveland to not give me bail. And I'm telling you, that jail's overcrowded. They're like, we're trying to get these people out of here. We're not holding people for you. You know, they got the money back. It was for lawful and they had to pay some attorney. But again, it's all price of doing business the way that I look at it, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, and, you know, so, and the other thing I do know is I couldn't go into the OM because I'm pretty sure I don't know what it was. I think you had to be a member for a year before you could go into an OM at the time. I never went into the OM. I just hung out at Cleveland's clubhouse, you know? I think people get butthurt in the club, and I think there's a lot of people that jump to conclusions without knowing the things or whatever. It seems like when you become a member, every people are trying to look. They're not trying to look how to keep you as their brother. They're trying to look at how they can get rid of you as their brother. You know, and that goes back to when I was when I. It's harder to become a member. It's easier to become a member than it is to stay a member, you know. And then so I got 5 years in prison. When I got out, I was on non-association. I had transferred from Rockford to the Illinois Nomads, and then from Illinois Nomads while I was in prison to Vegas. And Vegas blew up while I was in prison and split into two charters, West Vegas and Vegas. And then the person that I went to be in this club had quit. The club as I knew it, as when I left, and all the people that I knew in the club, the majority of them, they're all gone.
Did that shock you when Pee Wee quit?
Yeah, yeah, it did. It really did. It did shock me when Pee Wee quit because, you know, I wasn't there, right? I was on non-association. I really couldn't talk. People that I prospected with, that when I went away, I thought we were all friends, and I just couldn't. I was having a hard time understanding like what happened. You know how that charter blew up and all. You know what I mean? And I seen, and even like the Illinois Nomads charter that I was in Rockford, they got kicked out too. You know, everybody's getting indicted, and all these people are going, and they got kicked out, put on bad standing, and I didn't even really understand why because they didn't do anything right, other than the fact that they took a plea. And if we really want to get down to the government informant or telling, and this is where it's tricky because I think people took pick two different sides, right? If by definition of they're using in, I even said this when I was in jail and they're checking paperwork. Anyone in the federal system that has co-defendants that takes a plea has to accept responsibility to get the downward departure for accepting the responsibility in your criminal history points. So you have to tell what you did.
Yeah.
Unless it happens in different courts or the feds are doing something special. But when I got sentenced, he said, "Did you possess these guns?" I said, "Yeah." And prior to that, I had a conversation with my attorney. I'm like, "I didn't even have that gun that they're saying." He goes, "Doesn't matter. It's 1 to 3 and 4 to 7, right? So you got they're busting you with three. Whether you had it or not, it doesn't matter. You're getting the same sentence if you had 1 or 2, right? Now, if it was they were going to say 5 and it's going to put you into another level, then we'll argue it." But he made a very good point. Only argue what matters. You know, and the judge asked me if I possessed them. I said, "Yeah, fine, you're sentenced." And so it's a tricky situation, and it seems like it's like I said before, it felt like to me
It's
that the
okay for
public,
some people and it's not okay for other people, right? Do you think it's kind of like a popularity contest?
it's a bunch of fucking high school girls click. right? Sorority girls, like something's okay. You know what I mean? It's clicky. It's clicky, depending on what clique you're in or what part of the clique you're in. And I mean, all you have to do is watch some of these members that used to be in the club fighting amongst each other and telling their stories that decide on what side of the clique they're on, you know? I think a lot of older members, in my perspective, have learned a lot, right? But they've been through it. And then they're like, we just don't want to get involved anymore, you know? And that's how they stay in it, you know? And I know that when Pee Wee quit, there's a bunch of controversy there, you know? Um, Pee Wee never did me wrong, you know? Uh, I wasn't in that room. I don't have those answers. I don't know what transpired over the 7, 8 years that I was away in jail or whatever. You know what I mean? But it just felt like craziness, you know. And I'll say this: when I was in the club, man, I had some really good times, some funny. You know what I mean? Crazy that I was privileged to experience. One of the guns that I went to prison for, we're going to the USA run. I was a prospect. Now, mind you, I don't know if you've ever been in like on a turnpike, but we're coming out of Illinois. We're getting on the Illinois turnpike, right? And at that time, I was a prospect, and so a prospect would ride to the front of the pack and pay the toll, so everybody could go through without having to pay, right? Well, the semi cuts in front of us, and the dude that's carrying a gun for me because I'm a felon, I can't have one. Next thing you know, he burns up to the toll booth, and in the middle of the day, climbs off his bike and puts a gun to this trucker's head at this toll booth going from Chicago to Indiana. And I was like, right? I mean, that's only the kind of stuff you see in movies or craziness, right? It was crazy. And the next thing you know, I mean, and I got in my pocket. I'm like, this is crazy, right? We pull into it's on the Indiana Turnpike and you pull off and the rest area has like Hardee's, whatever gas. Next thing you know, there's cops coming from everywhere. They got us surrounded. They're coming out of the median. I mean, they're everywhere and they're trying to search us all. And I burn into the bathroom and I'm like, yeah, this guy got me or whatever, you know? And I see the dude that had the gun. I'm like, hey, you burned in here too, man. You know, he goes, "Oh no, I just gave him the gun and told him." I said, "What do you mean you just gave him the gun?" So all they did is we got bailed out, went to the Indiana jail. He got bailed out, $500, and on our way we were.
And
And they
you
kept
end
the
up
gun.
getting charged with the gun.
Yeah, yeah, hell yeah, yeah. You
What?
bet. Because they never once got me and a gun together. Ever once from my house. They raided my house. The feds, they never, ever, ever, ever caught me with a gun. It was just me talking about, they had the guns. They had a few of them, right? But they never got me and them. And I sank my own ship by talking on a wire. And the reason why I didn't take it to trial is at the time, the feds, the district that I was at, if you lose in trial, they're giving you 10. And if I took the plea, I would get 57 months. And what's crazy about that is after my PSI came back, they tried to enhance me to like 92 months. And I called my attorney up. I said, dude, if I can do 92, I can do 120. We need to go to trial. He goes, don't worry about it. And he, proved that the gun wasn't stolen and he proved my criminal history because he knew there was a federal indictment coming down on all these bail jumpers. He just thought it was for money laundering or something like that because I owned a bunch of gambling machines and I bet on sports. And I'm like, dude, I pay taxes for like 30, 40, $50,000 gambling profit on my taxes. No, I didn't claim receipts. You know what I mean? Like, I own a house, you know. Somehow you got to justify it, you know.
Yeah.
And the IRS and the criminal part are two separate entities. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was just that was crazy, right? But I got to experience it. It's still wild, right? It's like a crazy ass story, you know?
What about when you get on off non-association? How does you leaving the club look?